For decades, Sean Diddy Combs was untouchable. A music mogul, a fashion icon, and one of the most influential figures in hip-hop culture. But in a stunning twist, all of that power is now being put on trial. On May 5th, in a packed Manhattan federal courtroom, prosecutors laid out charges that sent shockwaves through the industry: sex trafficking, racketeering, and organized abuse. The kind of charges that, if proven true, could land Diddy in prison for the rest of his life. What's unfolding isn't just a scandal, it's a collapse, a slow unraveling of a reputation built over 3 decades. Prosecutors claim Diddy didn't just live lavishly. He ran a network, a system of control that blurred the lines between celebrity and criminal enterprise. And the deeper you look, the darker it gets. Because the people who are speaking out now were once part of his inner circle. It started with a name the world already knew: Cassie Ventura. For years, she was seen as Diddy's glamorous girlfriend, always by his side at red carpets and parties. But behind closed doors, Cassie says, it was something else entirely. Her 2023 lawsuit shattered that illusion, accusing Diddy of years of physical abuse, manipulation, and coercion into degrading acts she says she never consented to. The lawsuit was bold, but what came next was even more powerful. In May, Cassie took the stand. 4 full days of testimony. No press conferences, no dramatics, just brutal, quiet truth. She painted a picture of control that was absolute. According to her, Diddy didn't just manipulate, he dominated. Emotionally, physically, and psychologically. And just days after her final testimony, Cassie gave birth to her 3rd child. Even in the middle of one of the most high-profile trials in entertainment history, she was fighting for peace, for closure, and for the chance to finally move on. But Cassie wasn't the only one with a story to tell. Inside Bad Boy Entertainment, Diddy's record label, people saw things, disturbing things, but almost no one said a word. Multiple former employees have now stepped forward, admitting they witnessed Combs assaulting Cassie on more than one occasion. Some said it became almost routine, something you were just expected to ignore. Why? Because speaking up didn't feel like an option. One former staffer put it plainly: "We knew he could ruin us." Or worse, in court, the mood has been chilling. These weren't strangers making accusations. These were people who once worked side by side with Combs, who helped build the empire. And still, they said nothing, year after year, not out of loyalty, but fear. This wasn't just a man with fame. This was a man with reach, with influence that stretched into every room, every phone call, every opportunity they had. One wrong move, and your career or your safety could disappear overnight. But eventually, the silence cracked, and when it did, the floodgates opened. Then came the testimonies that changed everything. Capricorn Clark, once a close assistant and brand director for Diddy, was one of the first to pull back the curtain completely. In court, she didn't hesitate. She described seeing Diddy attack Cassie with her own eyes. Not once, not in anger, but as a pattern. And it didn't stop there. She claimed he once kidnapped her, his own employee. She also testified that he threatened rapper Kid Cudi, telling people he'd blow up his car if Cudi didn't stay away from Cassie. And in a terrifying twist, a firebombing would later occur at Cudi's property. Coincidence? The prosecution doesn't seem to think so. Then came Mia. That's not her real name. She testified under a pseudonym to protect her identity. She worked for Diddy for 8 years. Her voice shook as she described a nightmare behind closed doors: rape, physical abuse, emotional breakdowns, and yet she stayed. Because she thought she had no way out. And she wasn't alone. Celebrity stylist Deontay Nash took the stand next, echoing Cassie's earlier claims. He said he witnessed the unthinkable: Combs allegedly forcing Cassie into sexual acts, with others watching, coerced, not consensual. Nash said it wasn't just abuse, it was orchestrated. Each testimony painted the same picture: a world where control, fear, and power were the rules, where everyone around Diddy knew something was wrong, but no one had the strength to stop it. At least, not until now. What happened inside Diddy's world was terrifying. But what happened outside of it? That's where things turn explosive, literally. Law enforcement officials have now linked Sean Combs to two chilling incidents that took place more than a decade ago. In 2011, there was a break-in, deliberate, targeted, and aimed at sending a message. Then just a year later, rapper Kid Cudi's property was firebombed. The timing wasn't random, and neither was the target. According to testimony, Diddy had threatened Cudi over his alleged relationship with Cassie. He didn't just say he'd ruin him. He allegedly said he'd blow up his car. And then suddenly someone did. Prosecutors are now using this to build a much bigger case. One that paints Diddy not just as an abuser behind closed doors, but as someone willing to use fear, threats, and violence in the real world to maintain control. It's no longer just about celebrity drama. It's about criminal intent, coordinated, calculated, and terrifying in scope. And the scariest part? If these stories are true, it means no one was ever safe. Not fans, not friends, not even fellow stars. With testimony after testimony stacking up, Diddy's defense finally hit back. Leading the charge was veteran attorney Brian Steele. His goal? Discredit the accusers. And he started with Mia, the former assistant whose graphic testimony had shaken the courtroom. Steele focused on the details, small inconsistencies, moments of doubt. He pulled out a scrapbook Mia had made for Diddy's 45th birthday, a video montage she'd created, gifts, smiles, sentimental memories. His question was clear. Why would someone who claimed years of abuse celebrate their abuser like that? Mia's answer was raw. I was young, manipulated, trying to survive, she said. There was nobody around us that ever even flinched at his behavior. It wasn't a perfect defense, but it planted just enough doubt to make the jury lean in closer. Could the trauma have been real and masked by years of fear and self-preservation? Or were these accusations tangled in regret, revision, or revenge? Steele's strategy was risky. Attack the credibility, not the crime. But in a case with no smoking gun and plenty of gray areas, a shadow of doubt might be enough. And just as the courtroom began to cool, the headlines outside started heating up. While lawyers battled in court, Diddy's empire was crumbling in public. Sponsors pulled back. Collaborators went silent. His name, once synonymous with success, began disappearing from brand deals, playlists, and headlines that weren't about music anymore. The mogul who once stood at the center of hip-hop now found himself isolated, his legacy hanging by a thread. Social media turned quickly. Old clips resurfaced. Moments fans once brushed off now felt eerie. Diddy yelling at assistants, getting aggressive on reality shows, or talking about power in ways that no longer seemed harmless. The public wasn't just questioning the accusations, they were rethinking everything. And in the middle of it all, Cassie quietly welcomed her third child with husband Alex Fine. No interviews, no statements, just a photo and a message that her life was moving forward. Meanwhile, the trial is set to enter its fourth week. More witnesses are expected, more questions will be asked. But one thing is already clear. Even if Diddy walks free, the image he spent a lifetime building will never fully recover. And for the first time in decades, people are asking, who was the real Sean Combs? As week 4 of the trial begins, the stakes couldn't be higher. The prosecution is expected to rest by mid-June, but with new witnesses being added and old ones revisited, delays are mounting, and so is the pressure. The defense has only just begun to unravel the stories laid bare over the past 3 weeks. And with no direct physical evidence presented so far, the trial may come down to one thing: who the jury believes. If convicted, Sean Diddy Combs could face life in prison, but even if he walks free, this trial has already exposed a dark, disturbing version of his world, one filled with silence, control, and secrets hidden in plain sight. Behind the headlines, behind the music, behind the empire, was there always something darker? For now, all eyes remain on that Manhattan courtroom, because whatever the verdict is, it won't undo the damage that's already been done. The Sean Diddy Combs trial has shaken the world of music and fame like never before. Allegations that once seemed impossible to imagine are now front and center, challenging everything we thought we knew about a global icon. This story isn't just about one man, it's about power, how it can be abused, hidden, and protected by silence. It's about the courage it takes to speak out when the world expects you to stay quiet. As the trial moves forward, the truth remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the ripple effects of these revelations will be felt for years to come. What do you think lies beneath the surface of fame and fortune? And how do we hold those in power accountable? Leave your thoughts below, and don't forget to subscribe for the latest updates on this ongoing story.